Have you noticed how, in life, the more you try to please, the less seriously you are taken? It is strange, I know, but it is exactly this desire to be liked that undermines your silent power. You give smiles, agree with everything, avoid conflicts, and even so, you feel that no one truly respects you. What if I told you there is a way to turn this around, to transform presence into authority, and be recognized without having to beg for approval? In the next moment, you will discover how to awaken the shadow power of respect, the one that does not depend on likability, but that forever changes the way the world responds to you. If topics like psychology, philosophy, and the darkness of the human soul interest you, subscribe to the channel now. Where in the world are you watching this video from right now? Leave your answer in the comments. Have you ever stopped to think how many times you betrayed yourself just to be liked? It is as if there were an invisible manual saying that to be accepted, you must smile when you want to scream, lower your head when you want to assert yourself. This desire to please is treacherous. It looks like kindness, but in reality, it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being forgotten. And while you pretend to be someone you are not, you move away from who you could truly be. It is curious how society admires those who do not need approval. They enter a room and without saying a word, already command respect. It is like watching a movie character who dominates the environment just with a glance. Have you noticed that? This presence does not come from compulsive kindness, but from silent firmness. Because those who do not seek love from everyone end up earning respect from many. The problem with always wanting to be liked is that you become predictable. And everything predictable loses value. People know you will say yes, even when you want to say no. They know you will be there, even when they do not deserve your presence. And worse, they know they can take advantage of your kindness without paying the price. You become a disposable resource. Have you noticed that those most respected are not necessarily the sweetest? Think of historical leaders, characters in series, or even people in your daily life. They do not beg for affection. They do not explain themselves constantly. They make themselves noticed through silence and clarity of their boundaries. Their respect does not come from friendliness, but from solidity. And here is the cruel part. The world does not respect those who bend too much. This is the unwritten logic of human relations. It may sound cold, but it is true. While you beg for affection, people notice your fragility. And fragility, when exposed without balance, attracts exploitation. Being too liked is the shortest path to being undervalued. It is like in certain games. If the character never sets boundaries, all the others take advantage of the weakness. And the same happens with you. Every time you swallow your truth to keep the peace, you hand power to others. At first it seems harmless, but over time it becomes a prison. The fear of displeasing grows until it swallows your own identity. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. It is not kindness that sustains relationships. It is the perception of power. It is uncomfortable to accept, but it makes sense. When someone does not fear losing you, there is no respect. It is only convenience. That is why, while you live to be liked, you become replaceable. And those who are replaceable are never truly respected. Now imagine, what if you stopped apologizing for existing? What if you entered a room knowing your value without needing to prove anything to anyone? This version of you already exists, but it is dormant. It does not beg for smiles. It inspires silence. And perhaps it is time to awaken this forgotten side, because life does not respect those who insist on being merely agreeable. Silent respect has an almost magnetic effect. It is not about shouting your importance or flaunting achievements. It is about existing in a way that your presence is felt, even effortlessly. It is like that movie character who does not need to say anything, yet everyone senses that there is something undeniably strong about them. The world reacts more to what you do not need to prove than to what you insist on showing. When you learn to assert yourself without aggression, without begging for attention, you discover that respect comes naturally. It is a type of power that no one can take away because it is born within you. Imagine a martial arts master, upon entering a room, changes the atmosphere simply by being there. This effect results from clear boundaries, self-confidence, and strategic silence. Many confuse kindness with weakness, but there is a subtle and powerful difference. True kindness is conscious, not a habit of pleasing. Those who understand this know they can be polite and firm at the same time. They do not need to apologize for existing, nor bend to others' egos. It is the posture that creates an aura, and this aura generates respect effortlessly. Silent respect also protects. It prevents emotional exploiters from taking advantage of your goodwill. It is like an invisible shield that says, "I know my value. I will not let you cross my boundaries." People who strive only to be liked often realize too late that they were used. But those who cultivate respect quickly notice who deserves closeness. And here is the irony. The less you need to please, the more people value your presence. It is counterintuitive, I know. At first, it may seem lonely, but this strategic solitude is fertile. It strengthens character, reveals others' intentions, and increases your perception of the world. Silence and firmness are like invisible tools of subtle control. The key is to observe and act with precision. It is not about cheap manipulation, but refined social intelligence. Think of historical leaders or series characters who do not seek approval. They inspire respect because they do not sell themselves. Every calculated action, every measured word, reinforces the idea that your presence has value, and no one can underestimate you without consequences. It is also about consistency. Silent respect is not a temporary trick. It is a lifestyle. When you maintain posture and boundaries consistently, you create a reputation that speaks for you. No one needs to remind you that you have value. They notice it naturally. And this type of power is more enduring than any fleeting likability. Now think, how many times have you held back to avoid ruining someone's image? How many opportunities to be respected were lost out of fear of displeasing? It is exactly here that the next step is revealed. Silent respect lays the groundwork for true power, the one no one dares to challenge. Being liked all the time may seem a virtue, but in practice, it is a silent trap. When you strive to please, you open space for others to determine your value. It is like a game where you hand over all the cards and hope no one uses them against you. Excessive likability turns your presence into a commodity, and life does not negotiate with those who submit too much. How many times have you felt exhausted trying to please everyone around you? This feeling is no coincidence. It is the price of living for others, of investing energy in external approval. Every forced smile, every automatic agreement is a small theft of your personal power. Over time, you realize that being liked is not synonymous with being respected. The world works strangely. People respect those who set boundaries and disdain those who beg for affection. It is a paradox few want to admit. It is like in certain movies, where the hero only earns admiration when they stop trying to be loved and start being firm. Curiously, by moving away from the desire to be liked, you gain a presence no one dares to ignore. This trap manifests in the details: excessive apologies, attempts to avoid conflict, constant concern with pleasing. All of this communicates fragility. And fragility, without a solid foundation, is perceived as vulnerability to be exploited. It is here that the line between being loved and being used becomes thin, and many fall without realizing it. It is a subtle behavior, almost invisible, but devastating. People who do not assert themselves lose influence over their own lives. They allow others to set rules, take advantage of opportunities, and define their limits. Meanwhile, those who cultivate silent respect, observe, act, and reap rewards without having to fight for others' affection. Being liked is a fragile currency. Being respected is solid wealth. The difference lies in posture and how you deal with the world and yourself. It is like in certain strategy games. Those who expose themselves too much become targets. Those who remain firm become references. Every gesture, every decision shapes the perception others have of you. And here is the cruel irony. The more you try to please, the less control you have over your life. It is the domino effect of excessive likability. Real power arises when you free yourself from the need for approval, when you start valuing yourself above others' expectations. This awakening is subtle, silent, and at the same time unbeatable. Now imagine, how many doors could you open if you did not spend energy trying to be loved by everyone? How many boundaries could you set without fear of rejection? The trap of excessive likability makes it clear that being liked is not enough. And it is exactly from this point that the awareness arises that silent and strategic respect is the true path to power. Clear boundaries are the foundation of respect. Without them, you become malleable. Someone others can bend at will. It is like building a house without a foundation. No matter how beautiful, it collapses with any strong wind. Defining what you accept and what you reject is a sign of strength, not rigidity. And interestingly, this is what attracts genuine attention and admiration. Many people confuse boundaries with selfishness, but in reality, they protect your essence. When you say no without guilt, you establish your territory and reinforce your presence. It is like in strategy series, where leaders who set firm rules govern with more authority. And every no spoken with conviction is a silent declaration of personal power. Setting boundaries also means choosing your battles. It is not necessary to react to everything or please everyone. Life becomes lighter when you learn to focus on what really matters. By doing this, you convey clarity and intention, two characteristics that subtly command respect in others' eyes. And boundaries are not only verbal, they are attitudes, posture, even silence. Sometimes, remaining calm amidst chaos is more powerful than any argument. It is like in action movies, when the hero controls the situation without shouting. Respect arises from the balance between action and restraint, firmness combined with strategic patience. Another crucial point is consistency. Boundaries lose value when not respected by the one who sets them. If you allow frequent exceptions, you lose credibility and authority. It is like in board games. Inconsistent rules create chaos and reduce your influence. People notice and adjust their expectations almost instinctively. Defining clear boundaries also reinforces self-esteem. When you respect your own life and time, you teach others to do the same. It is a silent form of leadership. No one needs to beat their chest to show strength. The behavior itself speaks for you. Every boundary set is a declaration that your presence has non-negotiable value. It is fascinating to observe that boundaries can create desire and respect simultaneously. People respect those who know how to say no, even if they feel momentary frustration. It is a powerful paradox. Strategic absence generates intense presence. And this subtle posture is exactly what transforms likability into lasting admiration. Now imagine, how many times have you refrained from saying no out of fear of displeasing? How many opportunities did you lose by not enforcing your boundaries? Every act of strategic restraint is a step towards silent power. And it is from this point that the next step opens, where respect ceases to be only internal and begins to dominate external relationships. Firm presence is an almost tangible force. When you enter a room, you do not need words to mark territory. People notice your posture, your conviction, your balance. It is like watching a series character who dominates the scene just by being there, silent but undeniably powerful. Firmness creates magnetism, and magnetism generates respect. It is not about intimidation or arrogance, but about consistency and clarity. People are attracted to those who know who they are and where they want to go. It is fascinating how the world reacts to this posture. Even those who do not like you end up recognizing your presence. It is a profound psychological effect. Few understand, but everyone feels. Firmness also creates authority effortlessly. Think of historical leaders, martial arts masters, or even teachers who do not need to repeat instructions. They establish their presence and boundaries so naturally the resistance from others becomes almost impossible. It is a type of silent power that transforms any interaction into a field of respect. Interestingly, firmness does not require perfection. It requires awareness. It is about knowing your values, your priorities, and acting accordingly. When you remain aligned with your essence, even silence becomes eloquent. And every calculated gesture, even small, reinforces your position and generates genuine admiration. And there is something almost poetic in this. The firmer you are, the less you need to prove anything. The world observes, evaluates, and recognizes. It is like in certain strategy games, where those who keep their pieces well positioned dominate the board without moving all the pieces at once. Firmness is the invisible weapon of those who wish to be respected, not merely liked. Firm presence protects against manipulation. People who try to take advantage of your goodwill naturally withdraw in the face of solid boundaries. It is a type of silent shield that communicates, "Do not underestimate me. Do not use me." And the more consistent you show yourself to be, the stronger this shield becomes, making you impenetrable to the emotional wear of others. The key is to observe the effect of your presence. When you notice respect arising naturally, without effort or imposition, you understand that true power is not externalized through exaggerated gestures, but internalized. It is a subtle but impactful transformation that changes the way the world responds to you. Now, imagine how many interactions could be different if you simply remained firm, without trying to please or over-explain. Firm presence is the bridge between being desired and being respected, between being ignored and being recognized. And it is precisely here that the next step is revealed, where the silent force begins to transform not only your life, but the perception of everyone around you. Strategic silence is an underestimated weapon. It is not absence, but controlled presence. When you choose when to speak and, above all, when to remain silent, the impact of your words increases exponentially. It is like in suspense movies. The moment the protagonist breaks the silence is what truly captures attention. Every pause carries power. Often, the desire to be liked leads to excessive explanations. "I did not mean to offend. I was only trying to help." How many times have you heard these phrases? Every justification diminishes your authority and presence. Silence, on the other hand, conveys confidence. You know your worth. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. Strategic silence also allows observation. While others speak, you gather information, perceive intentions, and evaluate behaviors. It is like playing chess. Every move is calculated, every word measured. Those who master silence master others' perception, and this generates almost automatic respect, without effort or confrontation. There is a fascinating psychological effect. When you do not rush to please or justify yourself, people begin to value your presence out of curiosity and respect. It is a paradox. Fewer words, more influence. The world reacts to what you do not give, to what remains contained and firm, not to what is forcibly offered. Silence is not passivity. It is contained power, waiting for the right moment to manifest. Think of historical leaders, masters, and iconic characters who speak little, but when they speak, everyone listens. Every word loaded with intention transforms the perception of those around you, and every silence reinforces the aura of authority. There is beauty in this. you learn to control reactions, emotions, and energy. You do not get lost in unnecessary conflicts. You do not give in to provocations. It is a silent dance of power where every step is calculated. Strategic silence is in practice, both a shield and a sword, protecting and asserting presence. Furthermore, silence creates mystery. People respect and even fear what they cannot predict. It is the magnetic effect of the unknown. No one dares to underestimate someone who does not fully reveal themselves. And every contained gesture, every measured word, contributes to this aura that few can understand, but everyone feels. Now imagine, how many times have you spoken too much just to please or explain yourself? How many moments of silent power were wasted out of fear of rejection? Strategic silence shows that sometimes the absence of words speaks louder than any attempt to be liked. And it is precisely from this point that the next step arises, where respect transforms into influence. Respect alone is already a form of power, but when properly directed, it transforms into influence. It is different from manipulation. It is the ability to inspire action without demanding anything in return. Imagine a mentor in films or series who, just by the way they are, can guide important decisions. This is the strength of those who master the art of combining respect and presence. Influence is born from the balance between firmness and empathy. People observe, perceive your value, and naturally begin to follow your example. It is not about controlling or submitting, but about creating a space where your opinion carries weight without having to beg for attention. And it is precisely this silent weight that few can exert. It is fascinating how those who learn to transform respect into influence change the dynamics of relationships. Before, you may have been just another seeking approval. Now, every gesture, every word, every strategic silence begins to shape the behavior of others. It is the indirect effect of silent power. Without forcing, you are heard and followed. And the most interesting thing is that this influence works in any context: work, family, friends, or social media. It does not depend on titles or positions. It depends on the perception others have of you. Every consistent action reinforces this image, making you a silent reference, someone others naturally follow. At the same time, transforming respect into influence requires patience. It is not instantaneous, nor visible in every interaction. It is a silent accumulation of posture, boundaries, firm presence, and strategic silence. Every small action builds a solid reputation, and influence manifests naturally, almost organically. There is a powerful psychological effect. People respect more those who do not need to please, but still influence positively. It is like a Machiavellian paradox. The less you chase acceptance, the more people internalize your authority. You become a point of reference, an anchor that guides behaviors without needing to impose orders. This influence also protects. Those who are respected and exercise silent influence are not easily manipulated because they establish clear standards and boundaries. People learn to interact with you more consciously. And it is precisely this discreet control of others' perception that separates those who are merely liked from those who are truly respected and powerful. Now imagine, how many times could you have impacted decisions, guided situations, or earned real respect if you had not lost yourself in the need to please? Transforming respect into influence is the step where your power stops being internal and begins to shape the world around you. And it is from this point that the final step arises, where everything converges to awaken the shadow power. The shadow power of respect is not aggressive, nor does it need to be displayed. It is born from self-awareness, firmness in values, and the ability to impose limits without asking for permission. It is the type of presence that leaves a silent but undeniable mark wherever you go. People feel it, perceive it, respect it, and some even fear it. It is fascinating to notice that this power does not require popularity. On the contrary, those who seek to be too liked almost never achieve this form of influence. Shadow power grows in the space between presence and mystery, between action and silence. The less you need to please, the more indispensable you become in the eyes of those who truly matter. The great insight is to understand that true respect is not begged for. It is earned by remaining integral, consistent, and firm, even when no one is watching. Every boundary set, every strategic silence, and every firm posture feeds this shadow power, which does not depend on applause, smiles, or momentary approval. And it is at this point that many get lost, confusing kindness with weakness and friendliness with power. Those who awaken shadow power know they can be gentle and, at the same time, uncheckable. It is the duality that creates magnetism. You do not need to shout your authority. It manifests naturally, almost instinctively. Shadow power is also liberating. It frees you from the anxiety of pleasing, from fear of rejection, from the need for constant justification. Every time you prioritize respect over likability, every time you choose boundaries over approval, you grow stronger. And this internal strength begins to transform all relationships around you. Interestingly, the more you develop this power, the more you notice that the world reacts differently. People try to gauge your reaction, consider before crossing your boundaries, and even those who do not like you feel a kind of silent reverence. It is the effect of someone who has learned to balance respect and influence. Awakening this power requires courage. The courage to say no, the courage to remain firm, the courage to stay silent when everyone expects you to speak. It is a journey few have the patience to undertake, but those who reach it find a form of authority that cannot be bought, negotiated, or lost. Now imagine, how many doors could you open? How many situations could you transform if you stopped living to be liked and began to live to be respected? The shadow power of respect is not a theory. It is a practice that transforms your life, your presence, and your influence. And it is exactly from this point that true mastery begins. So, what do you think of all this content about awakening the shadow power of respect? Did you notice how many times you failed to set boundaries or speak your truth out of fear of displeasing? I want to know, which character would you like me to analyze in the next video on the channel? Someone who also masters power and influence strategically. If you want to continue learning about these subtle skills, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because the next lesson could completely change how you relate to the world. These two videos in front of you are not here by chance. What if everything you believe about yourself is only a reflection of someone else's gaze? Click now on one of the videos next to it and start breaking this mirror. You will have to risk the click. So, which one will you choose?